Welcome one, welcome all. We got a big Thursday planned for you. We're gonna really run the gamut here, but we have to open up with something, and we are tapping our wartime consigliere, Mr. Kenneth Thickcott, and Kenny has promised answers, accountability, solutions, and conversation. Because lucky for this team, the Pistons exist. And they've run cover for him. Lucky for this team, the Lions are the feel-good story of the fall. Lucky that Michigan Wolverines are in the playoff, your three-time Big Ten champs, about to play a huge game against Alabama in the Rose Bowl. No, the team I'm talking about that's lucky is the Red Wings, because they've been a horse's ass for the better part of a month. 2-9 their last 11. They have... I'm not even going to say almost or all but or on the verge of. They have ruined their hot start to the season. They have cratered in the standings. I'm of the belief we are watching our playoff chances fade away right now. Why? Because when you don't have a bad 3 games or 4 games, and it's a bad 12 games, you are talking about a massive swath of games in your season. And you don't just nibble your way back by being 500 or slightly above. You have to answer for it. But even worse than the fact that they're just losing games is this stat. Now, James Anthony Costa, a.k.a. Cookies, was a little bitchy today. He was bitchy. He was very moody, very catty. It was tough recording a pod with him today. I'm just so tired from doing the mornings. He did mornings for 2 days. Grow up. But there's a power stat. Do you know what the Red Wings' record is when scoring less than 4 goals? Try 0-15. You have not won a hockey game unless you've scored 4 goals. Do I like that they're fun, exciting? Yes. Do I like winning 5-4 games? Of course I do. They're fun to watch. Dramatic. But here's a newsflash. You have to be able to win a game 3-2. You got to be able to, once in a great while, win a game 2-1. I mean, forget about shutouts. Forget about any of that. I'm talking about broad base. We are now approaching January 1st. This team, if they don't score 4 goals, which is high scoring, winless. We talked about this being the year they got to make the playoffs. They got to be a mid-90-point team. 93, 94, 95 points. They got out to the hot start. It was all good vibes. They brought in Patrick Kane. He's been good. One problem. They're 2-9 with him. So I want to bring in our wartime consigliere, a man who's as close to the Red Wings as anyone. He is just really as plugged in as it gets. I demand answers, accountability, and solutions. Because, Kenneth, the option of wait till next year is not an option. I can't. We were promised better. What is this?
Unnecessary, David.
That was hurtful. David's back, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
He's in a bad mood like Costa was. David doesn't have his nostrils working. It's a total disaster.
And his team's losing worse than my team is losing, so everybody's miserable right now.
Talk to me.
So what's going on with this team is there's no defense, and their 2 best goalies, who are mid at best, are gone. They are injured. They are not here. So there's 2 things that need to happen.
Let's hear it.
There's 2 things that could happen. One is you trade for a goalie. All right? That's option number 1. I think that's not going to work. I'll explain why in a second.
All right, go ahead.
Number 2, you trade for a defenseman. Much more realistic, will cost you much, much less.
Have a ton of cap space. We're good.
I'm not talking about cap space. I'm talking about draft capital. And I'm not saying that you're going to not mortgage your future or anything, because don't mortgage your future. If you try to trade for a goalie, that's what you risk doing. There's at least 5 or 6 other teams that are in a much better spot than you. We're talking about the Torontos. We're talking about even Edmonton I'd put in a better spot than you because they have one of the best hockey players on the planet. The Hurricanes, the Devils, they're all possibly going to be looking for goaltenders at the deadline or soonish. they're going to outprice you. They're going to drive. And by the way, there's only like 4 halfway decent, at least league average goalies available on the trade market. Everything that I'm reading says the best goalie that you can pick up is league average. It's a stop the bleeding type of a move, sure, but it's going to cost you an arm and a leg.
Got to get bigger on the blue line, Kenny says. Welcome back to 04.
That's right. There's a verging on elite but aging defenseman in Calgary. Calgary might tear this whole thing down. Chris Tanev. He is my solution. He's on an expiring deal. He won't cost you an arm and a leg like getting a goalie will. That's my solution. That way everybody on defense gets bumped back a little bit. We don't have to see Petrie anymore. He's been absolutely dreadful.
Okay, so here's the deal. I need the hockey elite to assemble. I don't have a Matterhorn or a news team bat light. But hockey elite, where are we at? The Red Wings have been skating. Literally and figuratively, the other teams in this town have taken all the oxygen up and covered up the fact this is bordering on a disaster. They have gone from being the story, red hot, 8-9 games over 500, to now solidly out of the playoffs. I think they're 5 or 6 points out. Talk to me, guys. This was supposed to be better. And injuries happen. No one, we all knew they weren't going to have great goaltending, that it would be hopefully above average. But from a defensive standpoint, now you want to put it on Patrick Kane, you want to be mad because he's a defensive liability, go ahead. This is a team thing, guys. When you haven't won a game scoring less than 4 goals, you got a team problem. And unless it gets rapidly turned around, they're not getting close to the playoffs, and that would be an absolute disaster. A disaster. I mean, Yzerman focused on, we're going to sign a lot of two-way guys. We're going to sign some defensive forwards. We're going to bring in some adults in the room. We're going to be a solid, deep, responsible team. It's not happening. And I'm telling you, turn on the Sharks game. We're up 4 goals. No, we're not. Hey, it's 5-1 against Philly. Now it's not. Every time I see them shorthanded, goal. Hey, look, another odd man rush. Hey, look, we're in a barn burner again. Like, what? Guys, I think you ought to be pretty nervous because you're in a swoon. And to get out of it, it's not about just leveling off. If you level off and play 500 hockey for a span, you're going to be chasing 6, 7, 8 points. And in order to make that up, you either need somebody to free fall ahead of you or you better catch fire. We got a problem. And I thought today'd be a good day to bring it up. Because, again, the losses are mounting. And while the Lions are doing their thing and Michigan's doing their thing and the Pistons are certainly doing their thing. By the way, the Pistons currently being featured on SportsCenter as the embarrassment that they are. The Red Wings and Steve Yzerman have kind of just gotten away with it. There's only so much oxygen. There's only so much room on that plate for Thanksgiving food. And your plate as sports fans has largely been full. But now we're going to clear out some of the cranberry sauce. We're going to put the Red Wings on the plate. How concerned are you? Is there a fix? And if this team doesn't get right and get to the playoffs, where exactly are we at here? Because we all talked about it. They got DeBrincat. They got a lot better offensively. They got pieces. Yzerman bringing in the Comfers of the world. And the Gazas Bears, and these guys that are responsible two-way players, the Andrew Kopps, like guys that are going to improve the baseline. It's not happening. 0-15 when you don't score 4 goals. That's incredible. Incredible. 248-539-9797. Again, who to blame? What's to fix? And what happens if they don't get this right? I think it'd be a bitter disappointment because well after the Lions season is over, well after Michigan does or does not hoist the national title trophy, and well after the Pistons win a couple of games and disappear into oblivion, you're going to wake up and go, wait a minute, I was promised a playoff team, and this is a disaster.
You're exactly right, Mike. There's going to be a lot of fans that wake up to that. Or hopefully we don't wake up to that. We've improved and we're better. But you're right. The Michigan run happened. The Lions run happened. And when that run started for both of those teams, everyone was like, yes, we're getting Kane and we're a playoff team. And that's what we're doing. We're contenders. You don't want to wake up and we're not contenders anymore. This is heartbreaking to see. As I'm watching games and I'm paying attention to scores and we're losing 6-3 and we're losing, it's just disheartening when you have a lead against the Philadelphia Flyers and you blow it. You have to win it in a shootout. That's pathetic. It has to be fixed. And Stevie Y's the guy that needs to fix it.
So and Kenny might be right. Listen, goaltending is like relief pitching in baseball. Very expensive. And there's no goalie, sorry, Carey Price in his prime, not on the market. Hate to break it to you. Like, there's no magic bullet on the goaltending market. I don't care. You can go to Hockey News, ESPN, and anywhere in between. There just aren't. And again, there could be as many as a half dozen teams in the goaltending market. But there needs to be a fix. Because they're pacing. Look, they're not going to be the San Jose Sharks here giving up goals. All right? No one's going to catch the Sharks. But there's a chance your Blackhawks bad. There's a chance you're in that bottom 4 in the league in goals allowed if it keeps going this way. And unless they plan on NHL 94 Sega Genesis winning every game 6-5, you're not making playoffs. This has careened off a cliff. 2-9 over an 11-game stretch, that'll take you right out of competing. 248-539-9797. So let's get into it. And to me, listen, this triggers people, but don't get angry. There has to be accountability. And I'm not going to play this game where it's like, well, Steve's got a plan. I don't want to hear it. No one's using the F word. But this team should make the playoffs. They are better than this. Goaltending problems and injuries or not. Incomplete blue line or not. Got to be better than this. And if they don't get it turned around, I don't see a problem criticizing Steve Yzerman and going, this isn't good enough. I mean, what are we doing, a 10-year build? Come on. I'm asking to make the playoffs. I'm not asking to win the Stanley Cup. 248-539-9797.